Glossopharyngeal nerve, this is the ninth cranial nerve, this is the nerve of the third pharyngeal arch, and this is a mixed nerve. This nerve supplies to the stylopharyngeus muscle. Next is functional component, this carries general somatic afferent, and this general somatic afferent, through this general somatic afferent, it carries general sensation from the pharynx, palate, posterior one-third of the tongue and the tonsil. Special visceral efferent fibers, this component carries taste sensation from the posterior one-third of the tongue. General visceral afferent, this carries general sensation from the carotid body and the carotid sinus. Special visceral efferent, this gives motor fibers to the stylopharyngeus muscle. General visceral efferent, this carries parasympathetic or the secretomotor fibers to the parotid salivary gland. Next is about the nuclei. The nucleus or nucleus ambiguous, inferior salivary nucleus, nucleus tractus solitarius, and the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. All this nucleus, they located at the upper part of the medulla, and the nucleus ambiguous, which gives motor fibers to the stylopharyngeus muscle. Inferior salivary nucleus, which gives parasympathetic fibers to the parotid salivary gland, and the nucleus of tractus solitarius receives the taste sensation from the posterior one-third of the tongue, and the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve, it carries general sensation from the somatic derivatives. Next we will study about the cause and relations of the glossopharyngeal nerve. The cause and relation we will study under intraneural cause, intracranial cause, and the extracranial cause. For the intraneural cause, we go here. See this, all the nucleus which gives origin to the intraneural part of this glossopharyngeal nerve, they run laterally and gets attached to the posterolateral sulcus of the medulla and becoming the intraneural cause. Now the intraneural cause, it takes origin from that is, it starts from the posterolateral sulcus by about 4 to 5 rootlets. Then this nerve, it descends laterally and forward to reach the jugular foramen. In the jugular foramen, this nerve presents two ganglion, that is superior ganglion and the inferior ganglion. Superior ganglion, it doesn't give any branch, and this nerve gets separated from the 10th and the 11th nerve in the intermediate compartment of the jugular foramen by the inferior petrosal sinus. Just below to the inferior ganglion, this nerve, it takes a sharp down bend to leave this jugular foramen, becoming the extracranial part. From the posterolateral attachment to the exit of the jugular foramen, this part will be the intracranial part. Now for the extracranial part, we will go here. See, now this intracranial part, it takes origin from the posterolateral sulcus and goes into runs laterally to reach the intermediate compartment of the jugular foramen, and in the intermediate compartment of the jugular foramen, this nerve shows or presents two ganglion, that is superior and the inferior ganglion, and here this nerve gets separated from the 10th and the 11th cranial nerve by the inferior petrosal sinus. And below to this inferior ganglion, this nerve, it makes a sharp down bend to exit this jugular foramen and becoming the extracranial part. Now this is the extracranial cause. Now once it leaves this jugular foramen at the base of the skull, this nerve, it runs downward and forward between the internal jugular vein and the internal carotid artery. Then this nerve, it runs forward and downward between the internal carotid artery and the external carotid artery deep to the styloid process and the muscles attached to it. Then it runs forward by winding around the lower border of the stylopharyngeus muscle and the superficial surface of the stylopharyngeus. Then it enters into the pharynx by passing through the triangular gap which is formed between the middle constrictor and the superior constrictor of pharynx for its terminal distribution. This is about the cause, extracranial cause of the glossopharyngeal nerve. Next we will move to the branches of the glossopharyngeal nerve. It gives a communicating branch and the distributing branch. Now the communicating branch, it gives one communicating branch to the superior cervical sympathetic ganglion and another communicating branch to the inferior ganglion of the vagus, and it also gives one communicating branch to the facial nerve. Then the next is about the distributing branches. It gives of 6 distributing branches, that is, they are the tympanic branch, carotid branch, pharyngeal branch, muscular branch, lingual branch, and the tonsillar branch. First we will go with this tympanic branch. Tympanic branch, they takes origin from the inferior ganglion of this nerve, and it enters into the tympanic cavity by passing through the tympanic canaliculus, and on the inner surface of the tympanic membrane, these fibers, they ramify and they form the tympanic plexus. From the tympanic plexus, lesser petrosal nerve arises, and this lesser petrosal nerve, they pass through the hiatus for lesser petrosal to enter into the middle cranial fossa, and it leaves the middle cranial fossa by passing through the foramen. veil enters into the infratemporal fossa. In the infratemporal fossa, it relies on the aortic ganglion. From the aortic ganglion, the postganglionic fiber arises. That postganglionic fiber, they pass through the auriculotemporal nerve to supply to the parotid salivary gland. From this, we can trace the secretomotor fibers for this parotid salivary gland. It starts from the preganglionic fiber, secretomotor fiber arises from the inferior salivatory nucleus, passes through the 9th cranial nerve, its tympanic branch, tympanic plexus, lesser petrosal nerve, relays on the aortic ganglion. Postganglionic fiber arises from the aortic ganglion, and this pass through the auriculotemporal nerve to supply to the parotid salivary gland. This is about the secretomotor pathway and the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve. Next, we will see about the carotid branch. Now, this carotid branch, it takes origin near to the internal carotid artery, and it descends downward and supplies to the carotid body and carotid sinus. Carotid body and carotid sinus. Then next one is the pharyngeal branch. Now this pharyngeal branch, they go to deep to this middle constrictor. There it take form an plexus with the pharyngeal branch of the vagus and the sympathetic fibers. And this pharyngeal plexus, they supply to the pharyngeal mucosa, gives sensory supply to the pharyngeal mucosa and to the palate. Then the next one is about the muscular branch. Muscular branch supplies to the stylopharyngeus muscle. Then the next one is the lingual branch. Now this lingual branch, it carries both general as well as special sensation, that is taste sensation from the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, including the circumvallate papillae. Then the next one is about the tonsillar branch. Now this tonsillar branch, it supplies to the tonsillar mucosa and the palatine tonsil. That is about the distributing branches of the glossopharyngeal nerve. Next, we will study about the applied anatomy. Applied anatomy, there is loss of due to the glossopharyngeal nerve injury, that is glossopharyngeal nerve palsy, which result in the following symptoms. That is loss of the gag reflex or the pharyngeal reflex due to the sensory loss over the posterior wall of the pharynx, and there will be a loss of taste sensation from the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and also sensory loss to the pharynx, palate, posterior 1/3 of the tongue and the tonsil, and there will be a slight dysphagia, difficulty in swallowing occurs due to the paralysis of the stylopharyngeus muscle, and there may be tachycardia due to the disturbance over the carotid sinus reflex. Thank you.